Okie doke, so I'm gonna wait here for a minute till anybody joins me. Hi, Alina. So this is the book that I'm going to be reading. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And I first had it read to me when I was in grade 5, which was lovely. And it's a very good read-aloud book. I think in some ways it works better as a read-aloud book than it does even as a read-to-yourself book. But I'm going to give it one more minute, a few more minutes, to see whether or not anyone else is going to join us live. There were rumors. Maybe I will just send a reminder. Since I have that power, slightly surreal talking to yourself. I'm not sure I could be an influencer. So I should say, one of the things I like about this book, which it took me a while to realize, is that if you take off the dust jacket, it has a little surprise, which is just a very nice little touch of design. And that matches this. All right. The Van Gogh Cafe by Cynthia Rylant. She dedicates it to Dav for 7 years of magic. The Van Gogh Cafe sits on Main Street in Flowers, Kansas, and the building it is in was once a theater, which may be the reason for its magic. Anyone who has ever seen anything happen on a stage, anything, knows that a theater is so full of magic that after years and years of opening nights, there must be magic enough to last forever in its walls. The Van Gogh Cafe is lucky it hasn't found itself in a building where people once had their broken arms fixed or their teeth pulled out. Those are not the sort of walls that harbor magic, but theater walls do. Magic is a powerful word and often misused. Some say magic comes from heaven, and others say it comes from hell. But anyone who has ever visited the Van Gogh Cafe knows that magic comes from a building that was once a theater, from a sign above a cash register that reads, "Bless all dogs," from a smiling porcelain hen on top of a pie carousel, from purple hydrangeas painted all over the ladies' bathroom, and from a small brown phonograph that plays, "You'd be so nice to come home to." Magic is in the Van Gogh Cafe in Flowers, Kansas. And sometimes the magic wakes itself up, and people and animals and things notice it. They notice it and are affected by it, and pretty soon word spreads that there's a cafe, the Van Gogh Cafe, that's wonderful, like a dream, like a mystery, and you ought to go there. They will say, for you will never forget it. You'll want to stay if you can. Some have for a while. Like the possum. The possum. Kansas is not what one would call picturesque. It is flat. So flat it would make some people a little crazy. People who need a hill now and then to keep their balance. But in Kansas, at least things get noticed. The flatness makes everything count, and not one thing slips by. That is why, if a possum was to choose to hang upside down somewhere, Kansas would be a good choice. And if the possum chose to hang outside the window of the Van Gogh Cafe in Flowers, well, then everyone would start talking about magic. And that would be good for the possum, too. The Van Gogh Cafe is owned by a young man named Mark and his daughter Clara. Clara is one reason for all the magic in the cafe. She is 10 and believes something might happen. Mark bought the cafe 7 years ago, and he is the one who painted the purple hydrangeas all over the ladies' bathroom and put the sign above the cash register. But the phonograph and the hen were already there when he arrived. Clara's mother doesn't like Kansas, and she lives in New York City, where Claire visits her every June. But Claire prefers Kansas the moment she laid eyes on it. Kansas is like a tall person relaxing, she says. It seems right for her. Mark and Claire open up the cafe at 6 every morning, except Sundays, when they sleep in until 10. Clara takes breakfast orders from Mark, who is the cook, for half an hour on school mornings. Then she goes to their apartment across the street to get ready for school. Clara likes taking orders, because everyone is sleepy and sweet, and all they really want is a cup of coffee, please. Clara thinks that morning is the kindest kind of day. Most people who come into the Van Gogh Cafe are Flowers people, and they know each other. Hi, Ray. Hello, Roy. But sometimes someone is new. For Flowers sits near I-70, which people take when they are escaping from an old life in the East to a new life in the West, or the other way around. Clara has met many people between 6 and 6:30 on their way to somewhere new. But she had not met a possum until today. Today is Saturday, and she's working a couple extra hours for her father, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning when suddenly a possum is hanging upside down outside the cafe window, right on Main Street. A minute ago it wasn't there, and now it is. Claire says at first, "Look, there's a possum." Coffee cups go down, heads turn around, and a little gray possum enjoys being nosed. It scratches its nose and blinks its eyes and stares at all the faces. No one sitting down can say hello to a possum, so everyone in the cafe gets up and stands in front of the window. Now this is the magic of the Van Gogh Cafe. Not one person says, "Amazing, a possum upside down on Main Street." No, everyone is not all that surprised. They, like Clara, have come to believe anything might happen, because they have been having breakfast at the Van Gogh Cafe all of their lives. What they do say is, "Hi." Many of them wave. Ray asks Roy what possums eat, and with their usual curiosity about every new person in Flowers, they all say, "Wonder where he's from." Well, it's hard to know a possum story before he does something magical, but after he does, there's a story and more to tell. One of the first stories is that the possum starts coming back to the Van Gogh Cafe every day. 8 in the morning, he's right in the tree. But that's a small story. The possum begins to attract people, and this is the bigger story, because he attracts people who haven't been getting along. Best friends who had a fight the day before, today they're standing on the sidewalk next to the possum. The possum is hanging upside down and blinking, and the two friends are talking, and suddenly they've got their arms around each other and are coming into the cafe for some pie. A young husband and wife. The day before, they're yelling in the front yard. The next day, they're kissing beside the possum. Two neighbors. The day before, they're arguing about loud music. The next day, the possum is watching them shake hands. The story becomes even bigger when people start bringing food out of the Van Gogh Cafe. Food for the possum. Half an English muffin there, 2 pieces of oven-fried potatoes there, a cup of milk. They can't help themselves. They want to give it food. The possum isn't hungry, but a stray dog from the other end of town is, and he starts stopping by for breakfast. So does a thin cat and 2 baby kittens, a small shy mouse, several sparrows, even a deer. And this goes on for a while until the biggest story happens. A story that will enter quietly into the walls of the cafe and become part of its magic. For a man whose wife has died drives through Flowers, Kansas, one morning on his way to something new. He is sad. He isn't sure where he's going. But passing the Van Gogh Cafe, he sees the possum. He sees the possum and sees all the hungry animals standing beneath it, eating the scraps of muffins and potatoes. And the man sees something else there too. Something that no one has seen until now. And because of what he sees, he turns his car around and drives back to where he belongs, back to his farm, which he turns into a home for stray animals. Animals who come to him and take away his loneliness. Since that day, the possum at the Van Gogh Cafe has disappeared. One minute it was there, the next minute it wasn't. But the customers still bring food out of the cafe every morning, leaving scraps beneath the tree in case anyone hungry stops by. There's always a new stray dog or a new thin cat with sparrows. Claire is not surprised the possum has gone away. Things are always changing at the Van Gogh Cafe, and something new is sure to happen soon. Perhaps when lightning strikes. Lightning strikes. I need a sip of water. After lightning struck the Van Gogh Cafe one day in March, the soup didn't need to be heated for a week. You could just open up a can and the soup would be steaming. Now it is April, and the lightning is still having an effect. Everything Mark cooks is coming out perfect. Perfect. Not one burnt crust, not one overcooked egg. Everything has just the right amount of salt the first time. Perfect. The effect of this has not been lost on Mark, who is taking to writing poetry while he cooks. Claire and Mark were both at the cafe when lightning struck. In fact, they were closing up for the night. Mark had the key in the door, and they were just getting ready to step out into the rain when a blinding light flashed and the cafe popped, and the key in Mark's hand melted inside the lock. But that was just the only damage. Odd, but of course, this is the Van Gogh Cafe. Since then, things have been a little bit tipped. A little to one side here at the cafe. The hen's smile is a bit crooked. The sign above the register won't stay straight. People come in and their hats fall off. Clara knows it is because of the lightning, and she knows it won't last, that everything will straighten up again. But she expects something larger to happen before everyone's hats begin to stay on their heads. She expects a bigger story. Naturally, one comes. The smaller story begins with the perfect food Mark was cooking. But this could have been luck. Perfect food doesn't have to involve magic. However, food that cooks itself does. Mark is thinking of nothing else but poetry. A month ago he wasn't a poet, now he is. He is a little crazy with writing, and since the food he's cooking has been perfect lately, he's starting to forget about it altogether. He's forgetting to flip the eggs off the grill, to pull the toast from the toaster, to change the coffee grounds. So now the food is cooking itself. While Mark is writing his poetry, eggs are finding the grill, frying and flipping themselves over. Home fries are cooking up to lovely crispness, and no matter how long they are left on the griddle, they never burn. Biscuits are showing up in pans in the oven, fluffy and hot and brushed with melted butter. Hamburgers are finding buns and lettuce, French fries finding oil. Mark is writing fast, writing fanatically on anything he can find. Napkins, customers' bills, boxes of straws, anything. And, being the only person in the kitchen, he hasn't realized that he is not actually cooking all of the meals that are appearing on plates at the Van Gogh Cafe. It's only when the lemon meringue pies start showing up that anyone notices what is happening. Clara notices. She realizes that her father is not the one doing the cooking, that lemon meringue pies are beyond him. But she considers saying something, But she is so fond of lemon meringue pies that she's afraid they will disappear if she tells Mark he isn't the one who is baking them. So she waits. And she eats a lot of pie. And she waits. Eventually, something is bound to happen. And so it does. So still and blue, waiting, is a long silver night. This is the poem that Mark writes on a napkin that finds its way to Carla Roker's table. Carla has stepped in for a piece of pie on her way to visit her boyfriend in the next town. She reads the poem on the napkin, looks puzzled, smiles. She wipes the pie off her face, and heads on out to her blue truck. It is about 8, just getting dark. And at 11, when Carla has spent nearly 2 hours stranded between Flowers and the next town over, because her blue truck has broken down beside Silver Lake, when she sits waiting for a tow truck to come and remembers the poem on the napkin. And then the bigger story begins. Mark's poems are telling the future. The back of Judy Jones' bill for a grilled cheese and Coke on Monday reads, "Yellow and full. Did you know it would be spring?" On Tuesday, her neighbor gives her a bouquet of daffodils for her birthday. In the corner of the menu handed to Mary Showers, who has come in for lunch with her mother, a poem reads, "Rain finds a sweetheart in the music." The following day, a boy in the record store asks Mary on a date. And then the real magic happens, the magic Clara is waiting for. One morning, a young boy comes into the cafe and is fighting back tears. He asks if anyone has seen his Siamese cat, who has been lost for 3 days. Today is a school holiday, so Clara is working. She hasn't seen the cat and feels terrible for the boy. She offers him a piece of lemon meringue pie free and tells him that she will ask the other customers about the cat while he eats. The boy sits quietly at a table, slowly eating the pie, as Clara goes to every person in the cafe hoping. But no one has seen the Siamese. They are all very sorry about it. Clara returns to the boy and sadly shakes her head. He has finished his pie and is about to thank her and go when he glances over at the Soup Today board. Under chicken noodle he reads, "Blackberries love a moon-faced man, so sleepy." The boy stops in his tracks and reads the board over and over. Then he tells Clara the name of his cat, Blackberry. Clara tells the customer sitting at the next table, and that customer tells the next, and before long the whole cafe is looking at the soup board. Some of them have already read their futures on the napkins or menus. They know what they are seeing. The Van Gogh Cafe is silent. All eyes on the board, and everyone is thinking, where is a moon-faced man in Flowers, Kansas? Then someone whispers, the motel. There is only one motel in Flowers, and it is not a very good one, but it does have a lovely name that has fooled a lot of tourists who reserved their rooms sight unseen. It is called Moonlight Manor, and its sign beside the highway shows a round, sleepy moon, eyes closed, mouth smiling, little hearts flying all around. The motel is a good 3 miles from the cafe, so someone gives the boy a ride. And in the ivy planter beneath the Moonlight Manor sign, Blackberry is sleeping. Her leg has been hurt, but she is all right. The boy cries and cries. He is so happy. The next day at the Van Gogh Cafe, everyone is buzzing. They know for sure what Mark's poems are omens, fortunes, signs. What will his next one say? But the speculation about the omens doesn't last long. It's being replaced by complaints. Frank Mills has been waiting 20 minutes for his eggs, and when they arrive, they're running. Kathleen Cooper's pancakes are cold. Winston Fuller's steak is tough as leather, and there is not one lemon meringue pie in sight. Food has stopped cooking itself. Mark has stopped writing poetry, and everything's hat is staying on his head. Things are back to normal. Clara is naturally a little disappointed, especially about the pies. It's back to plain old apple now. But she won't be disappointed long. Lemon meringue pies can be lovely, but they're nothing compared to magic mushrooms. I'm going to do one more, and then I'll call it a day. Magic muffins. In October, a woman dressed all in lace and pearls walks into the Van Gogh Cafe, fresh off I-70. She is traveling east to New York to live in a loft. Clara thinks the woman is quite glamorous and feels shy around her. At the moment, the woman is the cafe's only customer, and she holds a large straw bag close to her as she sips her 7-Up. Mark has wandered out of the kitchen now and is starting up the phonograph to give the place a little life. Clara is at the counter working on a crossword puzzle. When the glamorous woman finishes her soft drink, she stands at the register to pay. The porcelain hen is smiling at her, and someone is singing that she would be so nice to come home to. And the combination of these things makes her feel generous. She brings forth her straw bag, $1 for the bill, plus the little foil package. Then, easily as she came, the woman drives away to New York, leaving behind 2 magic mushrooms on the counter of the Van Gogh Cafe. The muffins are inside the little foil package, of course, which Mark has unwrapped. Tiny muffins, gumdrop muffins. They are charming. Mark puts one in Clara's hand and one in his own. Like shells, Clara says. Mark nods. He is still a little dreamy, thinking about the glamorous woman and all the lace and pearls. May we eat them? Asks Clara. Mark has a sudden intuition. He says to Clara, only if we make a wish first. Well, a wish can be a blessing, and a wish can be a curse, and Clara has read enough fairy tales to respect this. All at once, she doesn't want the muffin. Her caution makes Mark so nervous that all at once he isn't so sure he wants his either. Not with a wish attached, anyway. Soberly, they fold the muffins back into the foil and slide the little package into the refrigerator and stop thinking about wishes. But magic doesn't have to be eaten in order to work. It only needs to be believed. And when Clara and Mark put the foil package away, there is no stronger proof of the belief than this. And now a new story in the Van Gogh Cafe is unfolding. The next day, Clara is curious. She wants to see the muffins. They are only muffins, tiny gifts from a glamorous woman. But now the wishing business has turned them into so much more. Clara unwraps the foil. She should have known. She should have known all along. The muffins are magic, because now there are 3. She doesn't tell Mark. He seems to have forgotten about the muffins anyway. Clara loves waiting for things to happen. Waiting and watching secretly. She folds up the foil and is still. And the next day, there are 4 muffins. The next day, 5. The next 6. The next 7. Every day, Clara unwraps the foil to find a tiny new muffin. And every day, she folds back the package again and slides it to the back of the refrigerator. Clara knows something is about to happen. And when November arrives, exactly 12 days after the woman in lace and pearls has passed through the Van Gogh Cafe, something does. Kansas is hit with one of the all-time biggest snowstorms in its history. Not that anyone living in Newfoundland watching this would know anything about that. No one is prepared. They have barely folded away their Halloween costumes. Snow shovels are lying in the basements somewhere. Boots are at the bottom of old trunks. Nobody's had a chance to get a new pair of gloves at Kmart. Goodness knows there's no salt for the front steps. And on this day, one of the biggest snowstorms in Kansas history, there's a church bus traveling down the road. The bus is full of small children not yet old enough for school, children just big enough to spend 2 hours at the church molding Play-Doh while their mothers shop. This bus is taken by surprise in the freak Kansas blizzard. It has no chains, no snow tires. It hasn't a chance of staying on the road. It slides and hits a pole 1/2 a mile from the Van Gogh Cafe. The sheriff and his deputies arrive, firemen. Anyone who can make it through the snow is at the bus, lifting out crying children. There are 14 of them, small and cold and scared. Some of them have bumped their mouths or their heads, and these cry the loudest. The snow falls so fast and thick and deep that there is no getting them to the county hospital, which is a good 10 miles away. So when that's ruled out, the first place everyone thinks of is the Van Gogh Cafe. The children are carried into the cafe, and they do not look well. Mark and Claire help them settle them into the booths and onto chairs, and the children's faces are gray and their fingers blue. They are alarmingly quiet. And then the true magic starts. Because Clara, counting all of the children, has seen there are 14 of them. And she knows, for she has already looked this morning, that there are 14 tiny muffins in that little foil package in the refrigerator. And now Clara understands why the muffins are so small. Mark and the rest of the adults are trying to get the children to sip some coffee. It's the only hot drink already made. But these are tiny children. They will not take coffee. What they will take, and what they do take, are tiny muffins. Clara moves from one child to the next, the foil package in her hand, and into each little mouth she places a muffin. And one by one the children become warm and alive again. Their fingers no longer hurt. Their faces are full of color. Their bruises disappear. Their cuts heal. No one's head aches, and not one tooth is missing. Clara drops the empty foil into the trash can. When, for many days after, Clara and her father speak of the blizzard and of the magic muffins, they have no regrets about the wish they each passed up. Clara regrets only that she didn't tell Mark about the multiplying muffins sooner, for he loves the mystery of it. He loves to hear her story. But young girls need secrets now and then. Secrets are like pieces of silver. And besides, someone with a deeper secret is about to arrive at the Van Gogh Cafe. Someone tall and sad and elegant. Someone who could be a star. So I'll leave it there for today, and maybe tomorrow I think we might actually be able to finish it, because that was about half an hour of reading, which was my goal. Anyway, hopefully I will see you tomorrow, and otherwise I hope you'll continue to listen to the playback of these. Bye!